Just doing a really quick video before I put everything back together on swapping out the third member on a 1998 Chevy Tracker, also known as Suzuki Sidekick. So I meant to do this earlier, but most of it's back together now. Anyway, it's pretty straightforward. First thing you have to do, in order to get the third member out right here, you need to take the axle shafts out. So I had a manual here that kind of describes some of it, but I found it easier just to take all the brakes out. I took the drum off, took all the shoes and springs and all that out, and then I had to take the handbrake cable out, which is right here. Now, just a tip, if you have a 13mm wrench, just stick that over the end of the prongs like this when you're trying to get it out. Squish these prongs in so you can pull it out. If not, it's very, very hard to get out. As for taking the axle shafts out themselves, I don't have a puller or anything. So what I did is I just got two open-ended nuts that fit on the threads of the studs, and then just get a hammer and just pound on it out like this with the axle shaft bolted, and you can see it'll come right out. When you're putting the axle shafts back in, make sure, obviously before you do it, you have your third member back in here. I find it's a lot easier if you take the studs out. That's these studs. These studs right here, as you can see, that have a nut on the back. Because if you don't take those out, it's really hard to line them up with the axle housing when you pound it back in. So just take those studs out of the axle shaft end altogether and pound it back in, and then you can put the studs back in after. Only thing tricky about the third member was on the top here. You can see these bolts on the top that hold the third link there. I had to use a transmission jack to kind of jack the whole axle up to get those in. But they went in no problem after. Obviously undo your drive shaft there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's not too bad of a job. The reason I'm changing them is because the automatics came with 4.3 gears, and this is a 5-speed swap tracker. So I'm taking out the 4.30s and putting in the 5.12, the 512 gears, because I want to be able to use 5th gear on the highway. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll add another quick video when I got some more of it put back together. Just to add to what I was talking about with those studs, I'm talking about the studs that are through the backing plate here. If you want to just pound them through a little bit there, get a brass punch or something, make sure they're movable, because when you are trying to hit the axle shaft in, trying to hit it into this bearing hole and into the actual third member, and trying to get it all in those holes at once is impossible. So just pop them out of the stud, get it pounded in, and then line it up after. A lot easier that way. All right, the other side's in now. Just another thing that I wanted to note, make sure you use lots of gray RTV around the seals, both sides of each backing plate and the third member. Also, when hammering them in, it comes in handy to have a little block of wood like this, just to protect your wheel studs and keep yourself from going deaf when you're wheeling on it. The first thing I try and do before I do anything on an axle is take the drain plug out. The fill plug, because if you can't get the fill plug out, you can't really do much. As you know, these vehicles have the 1 centimeter square head. I actually got an old half drive extension and grind it down, and that seems to do the trick, because if not, you will strip it.